Good morning. Happy Wednesday, beautiful people. Y'all. Which one are we doing? Which one are we doing? Okay. Where are we? Are we getting graceful? Are we getting sexy? What are we doing? It's just you want to talk about ticking time bombs. The road to battleground is going to be sick. We are still a little over a week away. As you know, I'm your hostess, Wrestling with Honey, and this is your NXT post show coming up next, right here on Women's Wrestling Talk.
Yeah. Now I'm going to go off. This is Shayna, the Queen of Spades, Baszler, and you're watching Women's Wrestling Talk.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling network on the planet.
Good morning again and happy Wednesday. What is up, beautiful people? It is time for our NXT post show. If you're seeing my face, you definitely know what time it is. And it's really early. We got a lot to get into today. I am your hostess, Wrestling with Honey. And yeah, man, NXT post show was this NXT show last night was pretty crazy. So this is going to be a pretty insane post show because between getting graceful and getting sexy, I'm not sure which one you guys are on, but we need to find out. And I am so glad, especially today, that I am not alone. I have the one and only Gerard Bonner, the professor, in the house. We missed him all week. What is going on, Professor?
Hey, it is good to be back, and what a day to be back. Good gracious. I could not wait.
So happy you're here.
This show. Oh my God.
I'm so happy you're here because not only do we have to talk about the gracious host that is Sexxy Red from last evening. And you know, I don't know what to say. I don't even know where to begin. But you know what? Let's just get right into it, everybody. You guys already know. Here we are. I don't know how we got here, y'all. I just really don't know how we got here. But apparently NXT got real sexy. Everybody was feeling the vibe when Sexxy Red came through those curtains. She was rocking it. It was twerking amok. There was get it sexies, and everybody was just feeling it at the Performance Center. So I mean, it's as we say, for the culture, man. And I get it. Not sure if our mayor would agree with us, but hey, here we are. So and Sexxy Red kicked off the show. And not only did they kick off the show, they made a couple of interesting announcements and also unveiled the beautiful new North American Women's title that will be gracefully worn around somebody from that ladder match qualifier. We're going to talk about those matches a little later, but let's just get into the hosting gig. Professor, what did you think?
Yeah, so for one, I didn't know where in the show Sexxy Red would land. I personally thought it might be maybe in the middle, toward the end, but they started right off the top. And I have to say, so those who follow WWT Live and have been following for a while, you might remember my introduction to Sexxy Red, which happened right here on Women's Wrestling Talk. And the funny thing is, for the record, I was introduced to her music, but I had never really seen her in person or seen her face or anything like that. So I couldn't have picked her out of a lineup. But with that said, she shows up last night, and I realized a couple of things. The first thing I realized was, and we've said this before on Women's Wrestling Talk, that everything isn't for everybody. And I think we've got to understand that whether this was your cup of tea or not, it was somebody's cup of tea. And what we quickly realized last night is that NXT audience, that NXT, that crew in Orlando, they were all for it. Booker T was poor Booker. Let me just say this. Booker T. Now I know you've been around longer than I have, and there's not much I can advise you on. And I don't attempt to, except for you have got to be a wee bit more subtle in your, just approval of these kinds of things. I mean, I think he forgot where he was last night. I think he
Yes.
completely forgot where he was last night.
Oh,
And
yes.
I will say this, it is a miracle if he went home to Houston and there was a queen still waiting for him at the house, because he was on 100 last
Okay.
night. And it was
Big time.
wild. It was wild. I learned things about Booker T last night I didn't know that I needed to know. I didn't know he knew those kinds of things.
Yes.
And it messed with him so much until later in the show, and during the match involving the Good Brothers, instead of referencing their finisher, which was the Magic Killer, anybody remember what he said? What he said was Magic City. And for those who don't know about Magic City, Magic City is a very popular gentleman's club here in Atlanta. And so I'm like, yeah, Book, we know what's on your brain, man. So, but with all of that said, I do feel like, and I was just saying this in one of my other group chats today, I feel like we all tuned in to see what in the world would happen with Sexxy Red, and would this be the train wreck that many of us imagined it would be. And the truth of it is, I think they used her very well. I think, just kind of limited talking spots, face her here and there. It was not, she wasn't general manager for the night. She wasn't involved in all the decisions for the evening. So I thought they used her very well. I came into this thinking this might be a one-off. Apparently not, because
Nope.
she, as it was mentioned, will be the host for Battleground, or as she kept calling it, Battlegrounds, which I think is hilarious. So yeah, but she also got to introduce us to the new Women's North American Championship, an absolutely beautiful title. And so we got our fill of Sexxy Red, and this would not be the only time we would see her last night.
No, Sexxy Red was all over this show through and through. And I kind of, part of me was expecting that a little bit. Part of me was expecting that a little bit, because especially with seeing how the crowd received her so well, and they were just, rocking with her and everything. She goes on and definitely escorts out Trick Williams and the young OG Javon Evans out to whoop that Trick. And not for nothing, I mean, how are you gonna hate the whoop that Trick entrance? You can't hate on it no matter who's in it. And not for nothing, I was vibing, and I was just like, yep, okay. This is good for her. It makes sense, and it worked. Yeah. Shawn Michaels,
brilliant.
I love you. You're brilliant.
Shawn Michaels is for these streets, and I'm here for it.
You know what? You know what? And that is so true. But I never thought I'd see the day. I never saw this coming on in 2024 on my bingo card. I tell you that much. But Sexxy Red was nonetheless a very gracious guest, and she did what she needed to do. She got the job done, and she's also going to be hosting Battleground. So that means we are not going to be seeing. We're going to be seeing a lot more of her going forward up until then. So yeah, shout out to everybody in the chat. We got a lot of people chit-chatting already, because I'm sure the excitement, because
this is the show.
100.
This is the show.
Yes, it is. This is the show you wanted to see last night. Matt, good to see you. Yeah, I see. Oh, Anthony Pizarro, aka Dad, what's up? Jeffrey Reimer, nice. Always good to see you. Cedric, we got the mayor in the house. We got the mayor in the house. Good morning, sir. Jeffrey says, I called it that she would be in the beginning. Yeah. I would have figured that they would have opened with her, especially, with Ava being out, out first and having to make the announcement for the North American Women's title and revealing it. Jeffrey Reimer, how the hell Booker knew about hands on his knees? Not for nothing. When I heard that, I'm like, you know what, Booker? You about to
I
get
had
yourself
no
in
idea.
trouble. You about to
Listen.
get yourself in trouble. Very, I was just like, you know what? I can't deal. And I'm surprised they even like, Shawn Michaels basically probably just told her, go out there and be yourself
Mhm.
because these people like you for what you're doing and what you are. Like, you know what I mean? Just go out there and be yourself because that's the only way you're going to be able to kill it. And
Yeah.
she was surely herself. She
Mm.
was surely herself. Mayor says they tested the waters with this Ollie J on NXT 2.0. Yes, indeed they did. Matt, put your fake one away. Brandon Stevens, good to see you. It is a beautiful, I wanted to talk about this with you, Professor. What do you think
Yeah.
of the look of the Women's North American Championship? I certainly personally seem to dig it because I love the white.
Yeah.
I just like I prefer the Intercontinental Championship with the white. But what
Mm.
did you think about this design for the North American Championship for the women?
One of the things I really appreciate about WWE is its consistency across all brands. And so, what they have managed to do, the consistent thread amongst all women's championships is that they have the white strap. Whatever design is on it, it's the white strap. So, if you go and look,
Mhm.
whether it's the Women's World Championship, the WWE Championship, the Tag Team Championship, and now this North American Championship, I love it. I love that the design
Mhm.
is consistent with what we see on the men's championship. And again, the reveal of it, it was beautiful. It was great. I think they again have hit a home run with this design.
Yeah, definitely. I dig it. I totally dig it. And whoever wears it, honestly, out of the women that are left that we see that are going to be in this ladder match, which we'll talk about going, later on in the show,
Mhm.
it's going to be a doozy. It's going to look
Oh yeah.
great.
Oh yeah.
Jeffrey also says sexy red and sexy boy. If so, did anybody see the Instagram or TikTok clip that it was, I guess, was presumably after the show,
Mhm.
where Sexy Red
Mhm.
is playing the Shawn Michaels theme song, and who pops in from the side in the video singing the song with her? Our very own Shawn Michaels, Sexy
Mhm.
Boy himself. Like I still couldn't believe what I was watching.
Yeah,
But you know what? I love and appreciate what Sexy Red did bring to last night.
yeah.
She brought some fun to the place.
Yeah.
Doesn't, I doesn't mean just because that I necessarily don't follow her or listen to her music or anything doesn't mean that
Yeah.
I can't respect what she did last night. And the
Mhm.
fact that she is a true wrestling fan and Shawn Michaels is her favorite, she's knowingly, openly said that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I and in some cases, I guess Sexy Red and I do relate as far as being a wrestling fan. So,
Well, and what I also think is super cool here is number one, I mean, this continues the long-standing relationship between all things WWE and hip hop. There have always been hip hop artists showing up. I mean, dating back to I feel like was it WrestleMania 2000 when Ice-T did the intro for The Godfather. There's always been a hip hop contingency, whether it's the Migos, LL Cool J, like we can
yes.
really go down the list. And so to see this, it is consistent with what WWE has done. And again, I think there is just what I love is this. I think historically we have seen, back in the 80s, there was the rock and wrestling connection, and everyone
Yes.
associated, this art form of wrestling with other forms of music that didn't necessarily represent our culture per se.
Mhm.
Whether it's country, whether it's rock, whether it's pop, but to see very clearly hip hop being represented in this way and to see such a strong embrace of the culture. And by the time we get to the main event, it all really makes sense when we look at the amount of melanin on our screen. It
Yes.
feels really good. And it says an awful lot about where the wrestling industry has evolved to. And I love that. I absolutely love that we all can be unapologetically who we are and be celebrated in a mainstream context.
For sure. To be transparent, wrestling and music go hand in hand, and that was always
Yes.
something big for me growing up. It
Mhm.
wasn't just about just the wrestlers. It was also about their presentations and the theme
Absolutely.
songs, and you know how they put themselves out there, and the energy
Mhm.
they would, how the interaction would be with the people, and how well they receive and just give back and everything. That was always very important to me growing up with when it came to music and wrestling, and just put it all together. And it's one of the things that got us doing this in a lot of
Yeah,
cases. Hello, like
absolutely.
for the culture, it's got us, making content and wanting to be creators in a
Yeah.
different way. So, it just to have the platform to be able to inspire people to do what we do, or anything wrestling and music related, says
Yeah.
a lot. And it just, music and creativity keeps the world going round,
Totally
despite
does.
what people say about other objects. But we're
Yeah.
not going to go there. That's a different kind of show. Dad, aka Anthony Pizarro, says, "Nice looking title. I like WWE expanding titles for the women. They have worked so hard to be relevant. Could this maybe be the beginning of perhaps a women's IC or US title?" What do you think about that, Professor?
I definitely think so. I think what many people may have forgotten is how NXT has strangely enough led WWE. If you go back to the creation of NXT's Women's Championship back in 2013, 2014, they led the charge in referencing the female performers as women as opposed to divas. In
Yes.
fact, the first champion, Paige, called herself the anti-diva. And so that eventually led to the main roster moving away from this classification of divas and calling themselves, the women's division, and calling it equal to the men. So I do see this as a move that will lead the Raw and SmackDown rosters to hopefully the creation of the long-awaited Women's Intercontinental Championship and Women's US title. And here's one of the reasons why. All of this stockpile of women in the women's division in NXT at some point will make their way to Raw or SmackDown. So there's
Mhm.
going to need to be a second championship for them to compete for, that won't have, this entire stockpile, or this kind of just stopping there waiting for a women's title shot. So I definitely think this is the precursor to that.
Excellent. Great answer too, Professor. Very interesting. Well, along with this wasn't the only part of of their segment for Sexy Red. Sexy Red got into some almost some mini altercations and tug of wars going on. So, because
Mhm.
right after, and you could kind of see her in this picture creeping up behind in the ring, Tatum Paxley tried to take the title away from Sexy Red, and Sexy Red wasn't having it, which then led to the kickoff for one of the final women's North American qualifying matches between Meechim and Tatum Paxley. Obviously, Meechim, the HBIC, came out and did her thing. She even was twerking amuck while she had her foot in Tatum Paxley's face. I'm just like, okay, well, this is where we're going with it. And you know what? With Meechim, I'm here for it. I'm always here
Mhm.
for it because I love
Yeah.
the HBIC. I feel like she's getting her due, especially from her previous run in NXT.
Yeah.
I think this run is going to be very good for her. I think she. Let's just get right into the match then. What did you think about the one-on-one between Tatum Paxley and Meechim and how that unfolded?
A very solid match for sure between these two. Tatum Paxley, I think, really had a chance to showcase that she's no longer in the shadow of Lyra Valkyria, that she's not just this kind of creepy person running around. But she did tell us, of course, back in that feud with Lyra, that she was always interested in championships. That's what she really wanted. So it made sense that she would go after this. A great showing. Two women who had a lot to prove. I'm good with the result here. Meechin getting the win. I think Meechin needs that run that she never quite had. She's gone on record by saying, hey, she doesn't necessarily need a championship. She's just kind of good being wherever. But I think we want to see a championship opportunity at the very least for her. And we know she's going to be able to get that now at Battleground. As the veteran in that 6-woman ladder match, it's going to be interesting to see how she presents herself. But I think this is going to be a really, really great moment for her.
Oh yeah, for sure. And not to mention one of our mayor's favorites, Miss Parker, was in
Mhm.
commentary at ringside, and she, you
Oh,
know,
yes.
she had a lot to say. She was getting real spicy with it, even spicy to Vic Joseph, which I don't appreciate, because you know you should be a little bit nicer to that man. I'm not sure why everybody's beating on Vic Joseph lately.
It's
It's
Booker's
not.
fault.
It is
It's
Booker's
Booker's
fault.
fault.
He was slaying
Mhm.
him last night in some cases. I was
Yeah.
like, Booker, my goodness, like clutch the
But
pearls.
we
But
will
you
get,
know what?
because Vic had a comeback that I said, "Oh my lord!" You know, one of the things I will also say that happened, and it was a theme throughout the entire night. It felt like last night NXT said, "This is number one, no longer 2.0. Number two, you know, we are getting ready for the CW.
Mhm.
3, we are a
Oh
lot more
yeah.
adult than you realize."
Oh
And,
yeah.
there were a lot of things that happened last night that I went, "What am I watching?" Like, "Okay,
Golly.
NXT, you stepped it up big time." And this is about as close, for everybody who screams about the Attitude Era or whatever, this is about as close as we've gotten to an Attitude Era-esque feel in WWE
Oh my
in
God,
many,
yes.
many years. This was that show. This was
This
that
was
show.
Jeffrey Rami, you hit the nail right on the head. NXT felt
Mhm.
big last night. It felt like
Yeah.
it was Attitude Era mixed with black and gold, and
Yes.
and then some. It was just
That's what it
like
felt like.
whoa, like
That's what it felt
whoa,
like.
and Shawn Michaels, man, Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, man.
But Michin went on to defeat Paxley by pinfall to qualify for the NXT Women's North American Championship ladder match, which we will be getting into because the one of the second matches and the final match happened later on. But
Mhm.
considering that we must go in order of this show, next we have Ridge Holland versus Riley Osborne. Now this one was pretty interesting to me because I see there's like a lot of like that's one thing. Another thing about last night, there was so much unfolding and
Mhm.
so many new stories that could develop, you know, if you pay attention and look in the background too, because there's doing a lot of that again in NXT. It's kind of just like gone everywhere. The
Mhm.
cinematic, you know, the cinematic entrances and such. And I'm here for it. But this one-on-one was very interesting to me. Now, though Ridge Holland did get the win on Riley Osborne, what do you see going forward for Riley Osborne, and what do you think that that he's going to be breaking himself from the pack or of some sorts, because he seems to be really frustrated with Chase U and Ridge Holland, and it seems like it would seem that they're trying to kind of put him in a different direction. Is that something you would agree with, Professor?
You know, I'm not fully sure if Riley will break away from Chase U. I do know that he's very irritated by Chase U and the fact that it's almost like everybody can see you can't quite trust Ridge Holland. And there seems to be a split right now because it seemed as though Duke Hudson agrees with Riley Osborne. You know, so you've got an interesting split there to see how people treat Ridge. And of course, then you've got the scenario with Chase, who's just like, "Oh, come here, friend," you know, and it's just like these dynamics are really, really wild given all that Chase U has already been through. I'm wondering, what is Ridge Holland's end game? You know, what is he trying to accomplish? I think, if anything, he just wants to find somebody that will accept him. Because everywhere he's been, nobody's accepted him because of the things that he's done. And Riley is not for it. He's not for it at all. And so it actually is allowing us to see a bit of an edge to Riley that we did not see before. And I like it. Now, I think someone made the point, Jeffrey, he made the point that Ridge broke up the relationship between Thea and Riley is upset about that, and rightfully so, you know. So this is going to be one of those stories that's interesting to watch that will once again make Chase U pretty relevant. They're slow cooking with this, and I'm here for it.
Excellent. Yeah. This was a pretty full on, you know, straight to the point kind of match, you know,
Mhm.
and then considering that they had a lot going on in the backstage where they were, you know, had some segments together, and it just seems it seems like there's something a brewing and something going on with Chase U that we still don't know about. And I think
Yeah.
Andre Chase is the key. because he's just I feel like he's playing both sides, because because although Jeffrey Reimer says here Ridge can't be trusted, I can also I can also say that we possibly can't even trust Andre Chase. It just seems like it's like a tug of war between Andre Chase and Ridge Holland somehow, but then they're talking in the background together. But then, when Andre Chase is in front of Chase U, it's a little different. And I'm not sure what's going on with that, but it seems a little fishy. There's something brewing in the water, and I would just keep my eyes all the way open. So I don't blame Riley Osborne for being upset, and I don't blame Thea Hale for being upset. Not for nothing, she's just tired of everybody's ish, and I don't blame her, because she has her own problems right now. She has her own things to worry about. So I guess we'll see what unfolds. Special Little Nobodies, good to see you. I like how everyone seems to have some type of story going on now, literally everywhere, literally everywhere. And I believe during Andre Chase and Ridge Holland's interaction after the match, I believe we saw Sean Spears talking to Out the Mud in the background, OTM, I believe. And I'm just like, was that? I think that's who it was. It was either OTM or it was I forget the other tag team. They just debuted a couple weeks ago.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Tyreek.
Yes.
And I can't remember the other guy's name, but yeah, those two.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I'll pull that up and find out. But I saw Sean Spears talking to a couple of young talents. He even had an interesting interaction on not commentary, when in an interview, and it just seems like he's eyeing this young talent and wants to bring out something out of them. Kind of like what he pulled out of Ridge Holland. I think he's trying to pull out the worst in people, Sean Spears, in some cases. But yeah, so Jeffrey says Thea had to stop Ridge from using the steps. Yes, that also happened during the match, which was quite interesting too, because Ridge actually listened. Not sure why, or I'm not sure how that's going to play into later, but we still have a week left, and maybe they'll be doing something at Battleground. Who knows? We could see a Chase U Civil War.
We could. Wow.
But next up, we also had this tag team match. This was really, really good. I enjoyed this match. I really love what they're doing with the OC and NXT, as far as how they're booking them, like the veterans that they are, and the line I believe that Carl Anderson uses about we've had heavyweight tag team, we've had tag team titles around the world longer than your reign to Axiom and Nathan Frazier. I was like, you know what? You're right. And nobody can argue that, sir. Nobody can argue that. But the veterans did face I would consider these guys the other young OGs, because I like I like these guys a lot. Idris Inofe and Malik Blade. What did you think of this matchup, Professor?
Again, kind of the comment about all of these stories intertwining and being interwoven. You've got the story of the OC who are looking for tag team titles. The tag team champions don't want to give them a shot, primarily because they're veterans. They're not NXT guys, which I love that. That was something that had been discussed on WWT Live many moons ago. People were upset about a year or so ago about so many main roster stars getting shots at championships and things like that. So it's cool to see somebody protecting the NXT brand in the way that they are. Meanwhile, this other tag team of Blade and Inofe, the problem that they're having with having all of this bad luck and all of these things, and it rears its ugly head yet again, this time with one of them landing on Brindley Reese and her having to be carried out, and then one of them slipping off the ropes. Like, it's really quite wild to watch. And this tag team has been in NXT probably the longest of just about any tag team tenured in NXT right now, except for maybe Gallus. But Gallus's time has been spent more so in NXT UK as opposed to NXT in the States. But this team can't seem to find the right groove to get into to move into that championship picture, and the bad luck continues for them. So it's really, really intriguing to see, again, multiple stories being told, and the OC gets the win. But to me, Again, the two lines in here that were intriguing. One, of course, Booker referencing Magic City, but then Vic Joseph. And when Vic said this, Vic says some things sometimes that I'm just like, oh yeah, we're in a new era for sure. When Vic said to Booker, because Booker kept talking about Sexxy Red, and Vic said, "You better not stand up or you'll knock the whole table over."
Oh my
Oh
God.
my God. I was like, Vic. It popped me real good because I was like, okay, yeah, somebody's acknowledging
Hilarious.
this, and this is it's phenomenal. Again, we've never heard them say anything like that on Raw or SmackDown in this era. So they were pushing that line and they were on the edge, but it was great. It was great.
Yes, Jeffrey says Vic isn't playing all around. Yeah, and you know what? As he shouldn't. Not for nothing, the commentary across the board on every brand has completely changed. The dialogue is completely different now, from Pat McAfee to Cole and Corey Graves and Wade Barrett, and Booker T and Vic Joseph up in the ante now, like with their commentary. Like last night, I think last night was probably one of the times where I actually listened to what they were saying and listened to Vic Joseph, especially.
Vic is a problem.
One. He's a spicy one, and I'm here for that. I love that energy.
You don't want to mess with Vic Joseph because Vic, you know, he will jab you, man, and he did, and I was just like, yo. I think what I'm really enjoying is there seems to be a real chemistry amongst the commentary teams right now in WWE. And you can tell that just like a tag team in the ring, when you're a tag team out of the ring, when there is chemistry and you guys hang out or you really enjoy each other, it spills over into what you do. And that is absolutely the case that we see with Vic Joseph and Booker T. And it is fantastic to watch.
Absolutely. Hold on, let me just get to a comment here. Anthony Pizarro, aka Dad. Everybody say hello to my dad. Although I missed yesterday's episode, my apologies. NXT needs to ramp up stories and talent. They are the future for the main rosters. Kudos to Shawn Michaels and his team for taking this on. I would have to agree with Shawn, you know, with the part with Shawn Michaels, of course. If he's going to be behind anything, you know it's going to be fire and you know it's going to cook for sure. Currently NXT is ramping up the stories and the talent as we speak, Dad. So you're gonna have to stay tuned every Tuesday now just to keep up. And he's retired, so he's good. He's relaxing at home. He can watch it.
He's earned that. He's earned that for sure.
He absolutely had. He's truly the GOAT. Awesome. Jeffrey says Pat McAfee call him Braun big son of a biatch was definitely classic on Monday. I enjoy Pat McAfee so much. I don't care what anybody says about him. I thoroughly enjoy that man.
I've got Pat McAfee commentary probably for later on WWT Live because there's we'll talk about it later.
That definitely. Special nobody says now we just need the professor to get behind that desk. Book it, HBK.
We're working on it. We're working
on it. But nevertheless, Gallows and Anderson defeated Enofe and Blade by pinfall. There was also after their match, Nathan Frazier and Axiom came out to have a little words with the OC, being that the OC's been saying, they've been ducking them and dodging them, and that they're cowards, basically. And just they're waiting for their opportunity, because they not only are they waiting for it, but they have earned it because they've run through pretty much their tag team division and on NXT. But nonetheless, they renege with a challenge, and it will be a tag team match at Battleground between Nathan Frazier and Axiom versus Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, which I think is great because you mentioned this. I don't know if it was last week or a couple weeks ago, Professor, when we talked about these two in the tag team. The tag team champions. Yeah. This is truly making me care about them. This is truly making me care about the development of Axiom and Nathan Frazier as a legit tag team. And I think this is the best way to do it because you have such huge and literally grizzled veterans in Gallows and Anderson, and they've been beasts for a long time, and they've been around the world and won tag team championships around the world. So what is more validating than, Axiom and Nathan Frazier getting a shot, giving a shot to them, at their tag team titles? And can
Yeah.
they, do you think that they can get the job done? Do you think that it's possible that they could get the job done, and or is Luke Gallows and Anderson going to take it all?
I think they need to get the job done. I think they need that signature win that makes us believe in them as tag team champions. I think they finally have the story that makes us go, okay, I think we care now. So I think they have to get this win, because the win isn't just establishing them as tag team champions, but it is also defending the honor of NXT.
Yes.
And under normal circumstances, when a main roster star comes to NXT, they get the red carpet rolled out for them. But very few times do we see an NXT star go, wait a minute, we're reserving these spots for us. We've earned this. So,
Right.
I think it's huge. I also think it's interesting that most of us forgot that this was the same team that beat the Wolf Dogs to become tag team champions. The Wolf Dogs are certainly close to, in stature, the makeup of the OC. So I think this is a necessary moment for them, a necessary win for them if they can get it. And we now know that that match will be happening at Battleground, which is a great, great place for it. I can't wait to see what happens when these two teams battle.
Oh, absolutely. Like you said, as far as that how far they've advanced, and how far they've pretty much how much they've accomplished so far in retaining the tag titles. It's just really cool, because now it's become one of those situations where it is a necessity, where they do need to win this in this particular case. Kind of like very much how The Rock, when Stone Cold returned and had to face The Rock and was like, I need to beat you, Rock. This is one of those cases, but quite the opposite, where Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson are throwing themselves at him and saying, hey, where's our tag team title shot? Where's our tag team title shot? And pretty much when they showed up on the stage, this was their I need to beat you, Rock kind of speech, where it's like, no, hold up. You're not going to call us cowards. You're not going to say we're ducking and dodging you. We've been here the whole time, and we have established ourselves as the great in this tag team division in NXT. So I'm really, really looking forward to seeing how far they go with these two. It's going to be a banger of a match, considering the wrestling ability of all four of these athletes. Forget it. It's going to be insane. Eric Isaac, good to see you. Hey fam, great show by NXT last night. Indeed it was. Come on in the chat. Let's talk about it. Jeffrey says Nathan and Axiom haven't been champions that long. No, they haven't. But you know what? They're fighting champions, and they're putting on a show. They're putting on a show every week, and they're consistent. So I give them that for sure.
Plus, I think what's been hard is they've been a tag team for a while, and I don't think we've cared about them as a tag team. So I think this is kind of one of those
way
things.
Of doing it.
Yeah, this is absolutely the way of doing that. And so that's probably why I'm so vocal about this, because normally you watch the rise of a team becoming champions and you're like, yes. But I don't know that we've cared about Nathan and Axiom at all during this whole run. So now I think we can go, okay, yeah, let's hop on this. Let's hop on this.
For sure. Then the top on the tag team bandwagon train. And you know what you guys should do? You guys should hop on that merch train.
Hey yo, you that's watching this. You sitting on the couch staring at the screen, not knowing what you want to do, like this is an online college. Are you tired of wearing shirts that make you look like an extra stuck in catering? Do you want to step your wrestling swag game up to the next level? Then Women's Wrestling Talk has got you covered. Like literally. Are you for life in pink or black and white? Or maybe you're the EST and people need to respect you accordingly. Want to put some pride in your stride and show off the muscle in your hustle? Then make sure you check out the WWT store. Not now, but right now. Alright? What you waiting for? Head to wwtalkpodstore.com and don't make me fight you. Shit.
Yes, please. Don't make us fight you. Professor will be right back after this other short break. But we just, had to cut to commercial real quick. So make sure you guys go cop that merch at wwtalkpod.com. And don't forget, please don't make her fight you. She will kick yo ass. But moving forward, while we wait for the professor to get back, unless maybe we should, I don't want to be rude because this next topic is definitely something that he's going to be here for, or he needs to be here for. And there he is. Jeffrey Reimer says that NYC accent. I love it. I know that. Talk pod and don't make me fight you. Like, I love
me every time.
all the time, all the time. But Professor is back, and now we can get into the good stuff, the real good stuff. The thing that no one, absolutely no one had seen coming, and we haven't seen. I haven't. You know what? Let's just go right. You know what? You want to talk about a picture worth 1,000 words? This woman right here, Jordynne Grace, has, pun intended, graced us with her presence in the NXT universe and shook up the place. It might as well have been the Trick Williams entrance.
Yeah.
Jordynne Grace has come to NXT and challenged the Prodigy, the NXT Women's Champion, Roxanne Perez, in a surprising reveal by Ava, the general manager. And not for nothing, before we even get to Jordynne Grace coming out, I just want to get into Roxanne really quick. Roxanne Perez's promo in the beginning and how she spoke of the NXT title, I thought was absolutely chef's kiss. Chef's kiss of a promo, because not for nothing, she was a young girl getting into this business and 13 years old. And she was going to shows, like she was like a popular fan. She was there every week and stuff like that. Imagine being a 13-year-old girl and saying that NXT title is my goal. I don't give a damn about Raw. I don't give a damn about SmackDown. I'm here to make this women's roster relevant. Shout outs to Roxanne Perez for delivering a promo so impactful. And now I am fully a believer in Roxanne Perez going forward, because when they were trying to transition her from that good Prodigy to now the bad Prodigy, and kind of it's what in what may have seemed like somewhat of a pivot.
Yeah.
Roxanne is completely eating this role up, and she is standing firmly in her ground. And I absolutely loved and respected the hell out of what she said in that promo. But nonetheless, she felt disrespected as disrespected as an NXT Women's Champion for finding out in such a manner that Ava's just not going to come out and tell her. But if you know the final boss, you know the final boss's daughter, and she's going to come out and address you in the same way. So Ava came out and proceeded to let her know, I don't think that you're a bad champ. I think you're a great champion, but this isn't even about that. This is about even if you're going to still be champ. If once you face this woman. And when that music hit, oh my God, that alarm and the pop from the crowd was absolutely insane. Like I said, it might as well have been a Trick Williams entrance. Professor, what do you think of Shawn Michaels just blowing the roof off of the place? Forget kicking down the door. Blowing the roof off the place and having Jordynne Grace come to NXT to confront the Prodigy.
There's a lot that I think about this. I'll start by saying that I love the swerve nature of it. If you remember last week, Ava was on the phone with presumably, and she actually mentioned that she was on the phone with the general managers from Raw and SmackDown, in her attempts to secure an opponent here for Roxanne. So we all kind of came into this expecting someone from the main roster to show up. We also have talked about, certainly on WWT Live, how the way NXT's women's division is set up right now, it's Roxanne and everybody else.
Yes.
So they had to go grab somebody. Now, there's so much to say about this moment right here. For one, it's historic. It is the first time that the TNA Knockouts champion has been on WWE television. Now, I'm very clear with what I'm saying. We've seen them on PLEs before, whether it was Mickie James a couple of years ago at the Royal Rumble, or earlier this year, Jordynne Grace at the Royal Rumble. But nobody saw this coming. And when I say nobody saw this coming, nobody saw this coming. It was done so well. And this is what I like about these kinds of moments. You know, right after Jordynne Grace came to the Royal Rumble, TNA did this great package on her, you know, her trip to the Royal Rumble, what that entire experience was like. And then we saw no more crossover. And as a matter of fact, we stopped seeing crossover. Then, of course, you know, the whole thing happened with Scott D'Amore. And I think everybody put the connection between TNA and WWE out of their minds. Both brands are doing what they want to do, et cetera, et cetera. And then this happens. You know, it has been safe to say that arguably the greatest women's division historically in the sport has belonged to TNA. And so for TNA's champion to now battle NXT's champion, and NXT's women's division has been the best in WWE, this is a moment. This is a massive moment. And seeing Jordynne Grace on there, hearing a TNA chant on NXT, like it, there's
what
so
world
much.
am I in? It's like,
Right.
it's like literally the new year hit and Thanos snaps his fingers.
Yes.
Because right after the new year, we got The Rock. And then we
Yes.
got, you know, leading up to the press conference. Then we got, well, Royal Rumble first. And then the surprises at the Rumble. Then the press conference. Then the, you know, the road to WrestleMania. And now this.
Yeah.
Like, talk about a massive, massive bomb drop. Like, this was impactful. And like you said, historic, Professor. I would have to agree.
Absolutely historic. And I will go so far as to say I think the timing of this is great. You know, the next big pay-per-view for our friends over at AEW is one called Forbidden Door. But the Forbidden Door has absolutely been blasted open by WWE. So let me mention this comment from Special Nobodies, where he says, if Jordynne wins, this could be a very interesting summer. Will Rox then go to TNA to get it back? Well, let me just say this. And I was going to wait to WWT Live to say it, and I may say it again this evening, but let me be clear. This is the biggest threat to Roxanne's title reign ever.
Period.
And I believe there is a very strong possibility that Jordynne Grace leaves Battleground with the NXT Women's Championship. You want to talk about history? We have never seen a WWE Championship appear on another brand, save, oddly enough, the women's title when Alundra Blaze took it to WCW to throw it in the trash. That wasn't a sanctioned moment. That wasn't her, you know, being from another company winning the championship. We could see that happen. And I'll tell you what, if you want to talk about real waves, you know, one thing AEW has never done has allowed a New Japan star to win one of their championships. We've seen an AEW star win an Impact title. We've seen an AEW star win a New Japan title. But it's far more significant to see someone from TNA win a WWE championship. And I'm here to tell you, Vegas, which happens to kind of be a second home for TNA. They've already had 2 pay-per-views there this year alone. I'm telling you now, I'm just going to put it out there now. Roxanne Perez loses the NXT championship to Jordynne Grace. It'll happen. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's a rematch at Slammiversary in July, which would be nuts, or they could play this thing out for a little while longer and let the rematch happen the weekend of SummerSlam. There are possibilities, and I'm just telling you now, we are no longer, if you ever wondered what era we're in, we have further proof that we are no longer in the Vince McMahon era. This doesn't happen under him. And I think, you know, Triple H has always said when he was asked about the possibility of a Forbidden Door, he's always said, I'm willing to play ball. Let me tell you guys, you want to talk about news that's going to send the world on fire? First of all, this sent everybody ablaze last night. But the possibility that TNA and their champion comes into NXT Battleground in Vegas and wins that championship, the possibility is extremely high. I can't wait to see it. It's going to be great. This is the stuff that wrestling fans, pure wrestling fans, have dreamt of. We've dreamt of it because now you open this door. What else happens between? Do we see the TNA Knockouts tag champions come over to fight Jade and Bianca? I mean, like, the possibilities right now are endless. So I'm just telling you guys, brace yourselves. Whatever you do, you don't want to miss NXT Battleground on June the 9th, because one way or the other, history is going to be made. And I think those broad shoulders of the Juggernaut are made for 2 championships.
Oof. Professor with a heavy early prediction. Y'all, it seems like we're going to have more than one party this summer for wrestling fans.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, but I don't know, man. I don't know. Let's go to the comments. Let's see what people are saying. Mayor says X Division title already getting eyes.
Mustafa Ali.
For sure. Eric Isaac. Now Wesley can reunite with the Rascals, the Wyatt family versus Decay. We saw Josh Alexander even teased, and Crispy and his partner teased too. There's just so much brewing. Like, we are not in any era. We are literally in the D-Generation X era, where there are no rules. The rules are there ain't no rules. We make our own, and if you give us rules, we're gonna break them.
Absolutely.
Need I say more? My God, this was just, what a moment, and what a picture. Jordynne Grace, she has a look about her that is just so, like,
it's undeniable.
I'm not messing with her. I'm not messing with her. It's like it's like Jade Cargill effect. It's just superstar all over it.
This is probably more of a WWT live kind of comment, but I will throw this out there. I first of all, I'm convinced, I know there are people, and if Boza was watching, he'd be in the comments screaming about this. I personally believe that WWE makes all of their plans independent upon whatever's happening in the wrestling world, because they don't need to worry about whatever's happening in the world. But let me just tell you something. You want to get the people to stop talking about Mercedes Moné winning the TBS championship? You just did it. You just did it.
And I guess we all could just let out one big one of these, because just to get it out our chest.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah. You know, like, just what a time to be a wrestling fan in all aspects. Because honestly, since joining the team, I have not learned about so much wrestling from other promotions that other than where I have here, man. And it's a beautiful thing, because I'm realizing, like, it's just there's always more than one. And you don't have to like all of them, but you damn well respect all of them. And it's just
absolutely
like Jeffrey Reimer here says, we're still processing, and we're going to be processing this for a long time. We don't even have time to process this, because June 9th is upon us at any moment, and we are going to see these two go at it. And will she walk out? Will Jordynne Grace, the TNA Knockouts champion, walk out with 2 belts? I mean, she seemed pretty darn sure last night when she was saying it to Roxanne, and Roxanne does not look happy. So you want to talk about disrespect? You're gonna have to earn that respect back, Madam Prodigy. But we will see if she's up for the challenge. I mean, we know that she's one not to back down from one. So we'll be moving on to that from that. So this was a funny interaction, and this was this one I particularly had to get for our beloved mayor in the chat to highlight Miss Lola Vice, because she did have a moment. Unfortunately, it was the moment against my favorite Ariana Grace, another graceful one on the roster. The one who's tried to make an NXT roster better, the women's roster better, and more grander and more proper and ladylike. Lola wasn't having it. Wasn't having it. And you know what? Though I can agree, and I love Ariana Grace, I have to also agree with Lola Vice, because there's that good side, and then there's that spicy Latina side that you do not want to mess with. So needless to say, Ariana Grace poked the bear in Lola Vice last night. And unfortunately, it didn't end well. Lola did get the pin, and Lola pretty much had a lot of fighting words for her future opponent in Shayna Baszler, the real queen of NXT, the queen of spades. Just saying, louder for the people in the chat. But she says, either I tap you out or I knock you out. And so it's either two options. But knowing the queen of spades, there's three. There's tap, nap, or snap. What do you make of these words, Professor? What do you make of the match with Ariana Graceful from Miss Vice City?
This entire scenario was fantastic. I mean, again, one of the themes for the night is really just how NXT has just changed the game in terms of where we are. So whether it's the twerk fest at the start of the show or during this segment here where Ariana Grace drops an expletive and it's just like, whoa, this is where we are, you know? It was brilliant, and it was very clear, like, oh boy, I really stepped in it. And it was great. It was great. The other thing that I noticed that was amazing, and I'm sure that the mayor probably advised his client on this. Did you notice that Lola wrestled in her merch? She wrestled in her t-shirt, and then Booker T is putting the merch over. I was like, how many conversations did the mayor have? Because all of a sudden now Booker T is putting her merch over, wanting to figure out how much it costs and how we can support the cause. Like, it's all of the things we like to see. And so, you know, Lola Vice had an incredible showing. And I think that the path for Lola has been very, very different than what, you know, some might have expected. But it's leading her to a main event-esque kind of match at this pay-per-view, at this premium live event. And I think that's huge. Meanwhile, Ariana Grace, she's special. She understands her role. Her role is not to be the tough girl. It's to be the one who brings peace to the world in all the ways that she can do it. So again, I don't think that anybody lost here. And then on top of that, that exchange between Lola Vice and Shayna Baszler, good grief. You can tell, I mean, you want to talk about literally on site. That was the definition of on site. And it was like, whoa, it got intense quickly. So again, they are building so well to NXT Battleground, and I am all the way here for it. It's going to be special.
Yeah, these two in a cage is going to be something pretty crazy. We have the good mayor over here with a comment. As a former pageant winner, I empathize with what Miss Grace is doing for the locker room. Yeah, sure. And he also predicts a sea of turquoise for June 9th as well. Jeffrey Reimer says Ariana got to stop putting her foot in her mouth. It seems like she's kind of been getting herself into some trouble, but you know what? You know, as good queens and good pageant queens, you know, sometimes that happens and it just comes with the turf.
Absolutely.
Yes, man. In my Booker T voice, so funny. Yes. Oh, this quote, Jeffrey. This quote, Shayna Baszler declared to Lola. She says, "Oh, you think you're bad because you're going to be in an underground or a battleground? You think you're bad? Well, I was born in the underground." If that isn't spilling who the true queen is, then I don't know what else will at this point.
Absolutely.
Because I mean, I don't want to make any picks now, but I think everybody knows what direction I'll be going in. Eric Isaac says, I wouldn't be surprised if Masha comes out and attacks Shayna for what she did to her at Bloodsport. Now you're talking.
Yeah.
To just continue from what happened during Philly weekend, that would be insane. And there's going to be how many people fit in the Apex?
I think they can max about 1,000. So I wouldn't be surprised.
Listen, there's going to be crowds out the door of this place. There's there's no, I don't know how these superstars are going to get in for even to have these matches.
Yeah.
But nonetheless,
it's going to be packed.
Nonetheless, Ariana Grace Yeah, it's gonna look so good. It's gonna sound great too.
Yeah, it
But
will.
nonetheless, my pageant queen has taken a loss this week, unfortunately, from her circumstances. Lola Vice, I kind of knew she wasn't going to play around with her, and I kind of knew she was going to win that. So shout outs to Lola Vice. Shout outs to Lola Vice for not standing down from Shayna Baszler and talking that ish. And shout outs to Shayna Baszler, because when these two get their hands on each other, it's going to be quite the show and the spectacle. I can't wait to see it. I'm still wondering if it's going to be the main event, but I guess we'll find
You know
out.
what? Here's the thing. So
hinting.
last week, it felt like it could have been main event. This
Yes.
week, not necessarily. I
Nah.
think there are 2 other matches that could potentially main event the show, and we'll get into those.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, definitely. So into the next match, we had a nice little bouts between these two, which I quite enjoyed seeing them again go at each other. Dante Chen has become an instant favorite, especially if you've been watching NXT Level Up. He's definitely made a name for himself. And, he had a great vignette as well during the show. He went at Lexis King, who always has quite a lot to say and who, like Ariana Grace, likes to put his foot in his mouth a lot and get himself into a lot of trouble. I can't help, and I'm just gonna go off on a quick little rattle here. I can't help but wonder if NXT, or if it was their idea to putting Lexis King together, doesn't he kind of remind you of Jericho back in the day?
Well, it's interesting.
I feel like it could be like a little, like how they did with Robert Stone and Tony Khan, how they were kind of like, insinuating that they were kind of like mocking him in a way.
I hadn't thought about Jericho, but that is a solid comparison. I mean, I definitely think that there's a build also to reflect his dad, the loose cannon. And so I think
of
a
course.
combination of those two is
Yeah.
a really, really good scenario to be in. And Lexis King, it's interesting. You're in a really good space when win or lose, we're still talking about you. And I think that's the case for Alexis King, where it's like, okay, he doesn't have to win for him to still be part of the conversation. And,
Right.
we kind of understand what's happening here. It felt like a win based on what he did at the end of the match, where, this battle between these two is going to continue for quite some time.
Yeah, and I like it. If you guys didn't see it, Lexis King and Dante Chen had a little interaction in the back while everybody was congratulating Dante Chen on a wonderful debut or re-debut, whatever you want to call it, on NXT last week, and having such a great reaction from the crowd. Lexis King came in and tried to spoil the party and pretty much offered to have a match with him because he felt like the first win was a fluke. And Dante Chen was like, well, let me prove that it wasn't. And he kind of did, though it was a little bit of a cheap pinfall rather than, a serious contender. I think either way, having that win on Lexis King 2 weeks in a row says a lot for Dante Chen and what they're going to be doing with him going forward. He is definitely a fan favorite. Shout outs to him also for being the first Singaporean superstar on the WWE roster. So he's already making history with that. He had a great vignette, and he pretty much is ready for more wins. Alexis King will not be the only win he goes after, and I could totally see a bright future for this kid going forward.
Yeah.
I like him a lot. And I do love Lexis King. I love what he's doing. You know what I'm saying? Like what he's doing is what he's there to do, is his job, and he's doing it right. He's playing the game right. Said Lexis should get the cup eventually. I could see something like that happening. Taking it from the Don. I could see if maybe taking it from the Don if the Don still has it, because a lot of people are going to be going after the Don with the World Cup, which they did briefly mention. There wasn't too much of a highlight on the family last night, except for that moment where they were talking about, you have to stand strong and make sure they protect that cup, and it's kind of growing on him. He wasn't sure about it at first and whatnot, but we'll see going forward. Maybe Lexis King will get the cup.
Yeah.
This match was fun. And I'm very happy with the result because I love Kehlani Jordan. Last night also this match was the final qualifier for the women's North American title. Kehlani Jordan versus Ren Sinclair in a great one-on-one. Obviously, Kehlani Jordan came up with the win. Both of these women were very talented and put on a great show last night. So either way, if regardless of the winner, I think that this NXT North American Women's Championship match is going to be on fire. But nevertheless, Keilani Jordan did pick up the win, and she is the final addition to the NXT Women's North American Championship ladder match that will be taking place at Battleground. What did you think of this, Professor?
I thought it was a really solid match. Again, watching the progression of Keilani Jordan has been really exciting. You know, if you go all the way back to what she was able to do during the breakout tournament, and then in the Iron Survivor situation, and now here she is. You know, she has really progressed. And one of the things that I like about this is the beauty of that NIL program, you know, where we literally get to see brand new stars created. And I think that is a great situation. You know, it's not very, most people like seeing the finished product, you know, and so very few people are good with watching things from its infancy. But the thing that we love is when you watch something grow from its infancy, that is an immediate way to connect to fans, because now it's like, I remember when, you know, and that's one of the reasons why we like Trick Williams so much. We remember when he didn't have a wrestling match and he was just standing beside Carmelo Hayes, and now he's our champion. You know, I think we've got a very similar trajectory for Keilani Jordan. So a huge win for her. Great showing for Ren Sinclair, who I think will have her opportunity in time. You know, obviously she's done some great things outside of WWE, but it's just an issue of timing right now, and the timing belongs to Keilani Jordan. And adding her to this ladder match, I'm telling you, we're going to see some things out of this ladder match that we've not seen before, and I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, Keilani Jordan, I feel, is like going to be like the women's Ricochet of that ladder match. For sure. She's gonna be a highlight reel, I think, during that match. Being that, you know, her stature and her ability and her size, I think she's just gonna be flying around there and you know, just targeting certain aspects on how to create ways to make a better match. You know what I'm saying? I think she's gonna be a human highlight reel going forward for that ladder match, personally.
Between her and Sol Ruca, it's gonna be a problem.
Oh my God.
Problem.
It's gonna be real good.
Yeah.
Really good. Seth says another big moment, Elle should turn Lonnie to her. Not sure what that means.
Well, so the reference to that is, for those who don't know, she is.
I just got it.
Yeah. She
I just
has
got
a
it.
connection to him. So
she has a connection to him, and she could be the her. I got you, Seth. I got you. You know, again, you know, it's the early morning, still trying to.
It's all good.
But
There's
hey,
a lot to process here.
It is all good. There's been way too much to process. But nevertheless, Keilani Jordan will be added to that ladder match, and we're going to go into those matches soon. But finally, we had more fun with Sexy Red as she escorted out the young OG Javon Evans and the NXT champion Trick Williams to their tag team match where they faced the boys of Gallus. What do we think about this, Professor?
Whew. Man, there's again so much to unpack here. For one, Javon Evans in the main event. You want to talk about a quick trajectory. It was probably 5 weeks ago. That's about right, 5-6 weeks ago, because he debuted right after Stand and Deliver onto NXT, and then before we knew it, he was battling Ilya Dragunov, who was the NXT champion, and now he's in a tag team match in the main event beside the NXT champion against one of the most decorated teams in NXT, that being Gallus. This is huge. I have to admit that there was almost a tear in my eye when I watched the entrance for Trick and Javon with Sexy Red there. And the image that really just, you know, messed with me was, look at this incredible melanin on our screen.
Yeah.
All three of these are different kinds of artists in their own right. We love them all for different reasons. And these three weren't paired together because they all have melanin. They were paired together because they work well together. And as catchy as this theme is, it's crazy. Sexy Red being there, part of that theme, vibing to it. it just made sense. It just
Right.
made all
Right.
kinds of sense. And
I
so
couldn't be mad at it.
I couldn't be mad at it at all. You see literally the present and the future all together in one moment. And so I loved this, seeing the shine that Javon Evans is getting, who is an absolute star, seeing the rise of Trick Williams. And I wondered something. Yeah, and Jeffrey's right. Sexy Red, this was the perfect space for her. It was the perfect space for her. And I found myself as I was watching the match, I was wondering, I said, I think it's interesting that we are less than 2 weeks away from Battleground, and we still don't know who the NXT champion is fighting. I thought that was weird. I thought that was wild. And then we got toward the end of things. Javon Evans, Trick Williams gets the win. And then, as promised, Lash Legend came to confront Trick Williams and ask the question in a rather loving way. And before she asked, I was wondering, were we finally going to get this confrontation potentially between Sexy Red and Lash Legend? But Sexy Red, give her credit that she didn't make any advances towards Trick as I thought she might. And they gave each other a high five, and Sexy Red exited stage left. And here we go, now trying to figure out who was it that attacked two members of Metaphor. And so Lash Legend asked the question, and before Trick could really get an answer out, another shocker. Like, what in the world is Ethan Page doing in NXT?
This
Last
was
week,
bananas.
it was so nuts. And again, it's the small things that happen that make the massive difference. Now, I'll take you a little bit behind the velvet rope and tell you this, that when I'm working, I don't like to know what's going to happen. I don't want to know results. I don't want to know surprises. I don't want to know any of those things, so that what I'm able to say on commentary is a genuine response, much like a fan would respond, because I am a fan. There was something so interesting that Vic Joseph said last night, and when he said it, I was like, don't you do it. Don't you do it. Oh my God, you're going to do it. And he said, wait a minute. Isn't he in A? And he stopped.
And Booker stopped. Yep.
You are brilliant. That is brilliant, because we all said the same thing.
Yes.
Isn't he in AEW?
Yes.
And it was like hearing somebody say it. That's the beauty of great commentary. You can be the voice of the fan, or you can inform the fan. And so it was done perfectly. And considering the last thing we had heard from Ethan Page when he, did this whole thing on Twitter, and he was saying he wasn't alluding to whether or not he had left the company. He was saying, his merch was selling and all this kind of stuff. And we've heard nothing. So shout out to All Things NXT, who proved that in this world where everybody leaks everything, you could surprise us twice in one night with something that easily would have leaked somewhere else. None of us knew that Jordynne Grace was showing up. None of us knew that Ethan Page was showing up, and again, think about it. They did this to us a couple of months ago when Shawn Spears showed up out of nowhere. I salute all of the great people in NXT who know how to keep their mouths shut. Thank you, because it helped to make last night one of the greatest episodes of NXT we've seen in a long time. And that is saying something.
That it was just, I couldn't believe it. It was again one of those situations where I'm watching this and I'm like, what the hell am I watching? Which show am I watching? Who am I watching? What's going on here? Who's doing this? And I could just picture, like, I have a picture in my mind of Shawn Michaels right now as you was talking about that, Professor. I have a picture of Shawn Michaels in my mind in the back, like just giggling and giddy and just be like, wait till you see this.
Right.
He hits that red button, and then it's just like kaboom.
Yeah.
HBK.
Can't no man knock me out. I'm tired of being humble. I'm tired of letting people think they got a chance. The tribal chief is head and shoulders above everybody. This is my show. This is my camera. I run it all.
It's safe to say Shawn Michaels is the tribal chief of NXT because he's just absolutely killed us last night with all of this content to talk about. And Ethan Page from AEW now in NXT and attacked Trick Williams. And it was him. He admits that it was him and that he's ready to, he's going to whoop that Trick. And I just don't, we have an opponent. We have an opponent for the champion. And just like that, as you were questioning it last week, we're like, wait a minute, why is it, where's Trick's title? Where's his title defense? You know, I hope we don't give him a lackluster title defense. Well, sheesh, this is far from lackluster. This is completely like unprecedented. Like, I just didn't know what to make of it. Last night I was having trouble with my DVR for some reason. I was having trouble with my freaking DVR watching this, and I had to restart it and put the on-demand version, and I couldn't fast forward because it wasn't my DVR. So I was upset. I had to hold it off. I pretty much watched the NBA game for like an hour until an hour went by, and then I'm glad I did, because otherwise I never would have seen what had happened towards the end. And when I saw it, it was like by probably like 12:31 in the morning by the time I finished it. And I was screaming like it was during the day. And I'm just like, oh, you know, I just could not believe that I was seeing this guy on stage. And Ethan Page is going to be one hell of a contender for Trick Williams and one hell of a challenge. It just seems like the NXT women's champ title and the men's title have a lot on their plate within just one night, Professor.
Yes.
Within just one night.
That's the incredible part about this. We've alluded to this with Swerve Strickland. We've alluded to this with Cody Rhodes, that all of these new champions, to establish themselves, they need to battle a veteran opponent as their first major title defense. And so of all people, Ethan Page showing up, it's crazy to me. It is nuts. But you alluded to something earlier in the show, and I want to reference that again. This whole idea of DX running the world right now. One of the things that made that Attitude Era so special was we didn't have a bunch of dirt sheets. There weren't a bunch of people talking about when this one would jump. And so you found out the jump when they showed up on your TV screen. You know, when X-Pac showed up the night after WrestleMania, you were like, oh my God. You know, when Paul White showed up through the ring, you know, you were like, oh my God. When these kinds of moments happened, you were genuinely shocked. And so to literally have Ethan Page come over, and again, everybody who comes over from AEW comes over exactly as they were. AEW needs to do something about that, because but I also wonder if AEW doesn't believe in these people enough to where they've not put anything in place to protect their IP. So these people are coming over with the exact same name, the exact same gimmick, which certainly isn't happening if you're leaving WWE. So I love this. I love this for Ethan Page, who has been needing an opportunity to show up and show people what he can do. Now you can do it in NXT, unhinged. I love this. I love this. I really hope that we are all enjoying the history that is being made in front of us. People are going to talk about this era the same way they're talking about the Attitude Era. Our kids are going to be the ones saying, yeah, but did you see this? Yeah, but did you see when Sexy Red showed up? Yeah, but did you see? And so I love this. And we got all of this in one episode. All of this in
2 hours.
Episode. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yeah. There's a lot of talk in the chat. Jeffrey says Ethan Page could talk his butt off if you've seen him in TNA.
Sure can.
Dirt Sheets had no idea back then, and I loved it. Same here. Mayor says that's 5 people that have crossed the street. That's
Yep.
pretty big. It's so
Yeah.
crazy and so vast. So happens so
It
fast.
is.
Special Nobody says, so happy for Ethan. He can wrestle. He could talk his ass off. All he needs is a chance.
Mm-hmm.
Jeffrey was also shocked both times. It's safe to say
Yeah.
the whole world was. Eric Isaac is
Mhm.
calling Paige versus Trick Williams for the NXT title at Battleground for sure.
Yeah.
And then I guess with all that, you have a solid pay-per-view. I love this comment right here.
Mhm.
Everybody, sweet chin music, and he won't pass that ox.
Oh,
You
yes.
won't. I love the Ken reference for those who don't know.
Yes.
That's from Not
Yes.
Like Us.
Yes.
Love that. Love that. Love that. Love that. But
Mm-mm-mm.
look how big Ethan looked in one night.
Wait, I gotta. This is a fun reference, and I just saw this on Twitter. I think this is absolutely hilarious. So, okay. So there's a few things I'm seeing on Twitter. Some of this I probably should save for later, but we're here. So WWE tweeted out Jordynne Grace's appearance last night. For those who don't know, her husband, of course, is Jonathan Gresham, who responded and said, "Wait a minute, you told me you were going to the grocery store."
I love that.
Brilliant.
I
Brilliant.
love that. That's
And
just
then
so
there
good.
is
Way to work
word.
it.
There is word that this appearance from Jordynne Grace will not be, and I didn't see this before the show, so call me whatever you want. But they say this will not be the only WWE and TNA collaboration in the days ahead. That there's a belief that there will be an NXT representation on future TNA events and programming as well, which is to say,
Wow.
as I said earlier in this show, and somebody refuted me and I didn't even call them out. I just let them have it. But mark my words, TNA will have the NXT Women's Champion in the person of Jordynne Grace.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh, hell's gonna
When
break
it
loose this summer.
happens, we're going to scream like crazy because it's
Jeffrey,
something you never thought you'd happen.
Jeffrey, you hit the nail on the head on this one too, because this definitely, and I agree, this would have never happened if Vince was still in charge. Never, ever, 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 ever. I'm so glad it's happening. What a time to be alive. What a time to be a wrestling fan. It's and just like that, it's safe to say that we have our legit list for our matches, our card for Battleground. Just when we were left wondering just weeks ago, what are they doing? Now we know. And now we know that Ethan Page and Jordynne Grace are now going to be going forward in NXT. It's going to be awesome. Just to quickly cover what's going to be happening at Battleground so far. I mean, even though there is no announcement, we're going to presume that Ethan Page and Trick Williams will go at it. We also have the final women qualifiers for the NXT Women's North American Championship ladder match at Battleground, which will be happening June 9th. Sol Ruka, Lash Legend, Fallon Henley, Jada Parker, Mi Chin, and Kaylani Jordan. That is just a hell of a list. And it's I feel like this women's match is going to rival my favorite NXT ladder match from the Black and Gold when they had Adam Cole and Ricochet and all of those guys, Velveteen Dream and Lars, all those guys. I feel like this is going to rival that on a whole nother level. It's going to be literally history making. And we love that here in Women's Wrestling Talk. Then we also have Oba Femi versus Wes Lee versus Joe Coffey for the North American title match. That's going to be insane, considering that Oba Femi seems to fare well in triple threats somehow. He is quite the conqueror the last couple of times, and I saw it personally during Philly weekend. He is nothing to play with. So, but Wesley and Joe Coffey have a lot to prove, and Oba Femi has a lot to prove as well, being that he is defending champ. Then we also have the NXT Battleground Underground match between Lola Vice and the queen, the true queen of NXT, the queen of spades, Shayna Baszler. That's just going to be sickening, absolutely sickening. And then Jordynne Grace and Roxanne Perez, need I say more? I just can't believe that I'm saying Jordynne Grace's name in affiliation with NXT. This is absolutely maddening. I can't wait to go into more details about this later on the WWT show. And then we also have Nathan Frazier and Axiom versus the OC, Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. Like this is a fully stacked card, and I am so happy. I'm so happy. I'm just happy to be a wrestling fan. I woke up this morning really excited to do this stuff. Got the slides ready and everything. I was just like, let's go. Let's just freaking go. Geez. And I think that's all we have. Oh, and special nobody says, we still got Julia coming soon, who which I believe she had successful surgery. So shout outs to Julia, and we wish her a speedy recovery so we could see her in NXT really soon. But get better first. That's what we really care about as fans. So that's all we have for today for our NXT post show. We constantly put the T in NXT. Professor, let the good people know where they can find you before we depart.
Absolutely. You can find me at bonnerfide across all of the social spaces. You can check out my commentary work with Southern Honor and IWE as part of IWTV. You can check out my work on YouTube with the Nightmare Factory. Student Showcase 13 is up, so you can definitely check that out. You can also check out my work with Turnbuckle Championship Wrestling on their YouTube page, as well as All Caribbean Wrestling on their YouTube page. We still got some great things happening there from Philly Mania, and we are gearing up for 2 big shows that are coming up this summer in the Bahamas and in Jamaica. You'll be hearing more about that. Mark Henry will be a part of both of those shows. Plus, you can check out my work with Ashe Wrestling at ashewrestling.com, and we've got some more really cool things coming together as we gear up for that big card on June the 22nd. And then, of course, you can check me back here later today, 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Pacific for WWT Live.
Excellent. And shout out to everybody in the chat, Jeffrey, Dad, Matt, special little nobodies, their good mayor, Eric, Isaac, Jordan, Kirby. If there's anybody else I missed, which I hope I didn't, I'm sorry, and I still love you. Please still watch our shows. You guys can find me at everything Wrestling with Honey. Well, almost everything with Honey. TikTok Wrestling with Honey, Instagram Wrestling with Honey. Like and subscribe to YouTube Wrestling with Honey podcast, as well as I'm missing something. Facebook Wrestling W Honey. And don't forget to tune in later on at 6 p.m. Eastern time, 3 p.m. Pacific time to WWT Live. We will be on here later. Check out the Honey SmackDown watch along this Friday. It should be a good one considering how well this week is going, and it's only the middle of it. And don't forget to check out the Honey Pop predictions on the socials. And thank you everybody for tuning into our NXT post show. And this is Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling network on the planet. We'll see y'all later.
Thanks for joining WWT. Don't forget to like us on all social media platforms at wwtalkpod. Like and subscribe on all video and audio platforms, like yesterday, my G. And check out our website at wwtalkpod.com. Thanks for watching Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling network on the planet.